Donald Trump has now picked Goldman Sachs president Gary Cohn as the leader of the new new leader for the National Economic Council at the White House. Not like a guy who used to work for Goldman Sachs or is a teller at Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs president. And he will, in fact, be the second Goldman-linked appointment for the president-elect, who already named former Goldman Sachs partner Stephen Mnuchin as Treasury Secretary. So effectively, two of the highest-placed economic advisors and leaders in his administration are, in the one case, heavily linked to Goldman Sachs, and the other led Goldman Sachs, which is interesting because if you paid attention during this election, you might remember things like this. Trump repeatedly called on Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton to release the transcripts of the paid speeches she delivered to Goldman Sachs. He also accused former GOP primary rival Senator Ted Cruz of being owned by Goldman Sachs. And so it seems odd that he then chooses from amongst all the great economic minds of our country and our time to surround himself with Goldman Sachs leaders and stooges.
So another guy he put in an ad was Lloyd Blankfein, the head of Goldman Sachs. And that is, he showed him when he said Hillary Clinton is being controlled by global financial interests. And they showed Blankfein. Now, who's being controlled by global financial interests? Donald Trump. So Donald Trump is not that complicated. He just wants the money. That's it. Problem solved. Okay. So if you ever wondering like, what's he, why? I wonder why he did that. What's his angle? There's only one angle, money. Okay. Yeah. So if you were among the four horsemen for Donald Trump, Chris Christie, Newt Gingrich, Giuliani, and Sarah Palin, and you risked your political career, although Palin didn't have one, but and to support Donald Trump, and you went out of your way and you were loyal, who cares? You're not in the cabinet, you chump. Where's the money? You didn't give me money. Oh, you gave me your support. Yeah, good job, sucker. Oh, you gave me your vote? You voters out there? Good job, sucker. Who gave me the money? Goldman Sachs gave me the money. Come on in. Mnuchin gave me the money, $450,000, and he was my campaign finance chair. Come on in. Linda McMahon gave me $6 million for my super PAC. Come on in. Okay, and the other day we showed you all the people in his cabinet and all the money that they gave to him and the Republicans. Betsy DeVos, random psycho, anti-education religious zealot. Oh, but you gave the Republicans $2.7 million in this campaign cycle, let alone the fact that the DeVos family is one of the top fundraisers for Republicans over the last 2 decades. Come on in. You're the new education secretary. All you got to do is bribe him. Yeah. He claimed that he was going to drain the swamp. He is the swamp.
Yeah. Maybe he thinks that if you put enough monsters in the swamp, all the water will overflow and it'll be gone.
Or they'll drink it up.
I agree with everything that you guys had said about this, but I just want to make one further point, is that maybe that because Barack Obama did basically the same thing, George Bush did the same thing, Bill Clinton did the same thing. So now we're upset about it, right? And the way it seems,
well, I would say we were upset about it before.
We were, but it seems like now it's being reported more that people are upset about this. Like now, and it's going to reveal Trump to be the opposite. So yeah, there's going to be the half of Trump supporters. He can do whatever, and it won't matter. But I think there are those people, like the people in that Fight for 15 video from Eric, that are going to say, see, he is that jerk we always thought he was, that carpetbagging Yankee, and so we're done with them. So I think it's good now that the bad things our government has been doing all along is now getting attention. Yeah. And this is another bad thing that's getting attention.
Well, I think Jimmy's totally right because, and I want to give Trump supporters a little bit of credit, most things that Trump does that are directly contrary to what he says he stands for and what they say he stands for, they don't even see it, they don't care. But there's been two things so far that I've seen a lot of pushback from Trump supporters, or at least people that say they are. The first was that he is not going to investigate Hillary Clinton, and the second is that he's surrounding himself with Goldman Sachs people. They do seem to have picked up on those two things. And what I've noticed in terms of a general trend is there were supposedly all of these things that I even thought were there that made him different than a regular Republican, and that he was theoretically a wild card. We use the term wild card 150 times over the course of the primary, and you never know where he's going to go, which is true in terms of when he talks about something. But when he actually acts on it, that big complicated mess of complexity and difference has slowly been pruned away to the only thing that it really means that's different than past presidents on the Republican side is way more white supremacy and a much stronger attachment to some of the fundamentals of fascism. And all of this sort of, well, you never know on abortion, you never know on all this stuff. No, we do know, and we're seeing by who he's surrounding himself with what he's going to do. It's republicanism, but far more extreme, far more violent, less tolerant of democracy, and less tolerant of racial and religious minorities. It's basically Ted Cruz, but scarier and more sure of itself.
So, look, if you're a Trump supporter, come join us. Sign a petition, especially if you're a Trump supporter, saying, please stop putting your donors in your cabinet. Because if you're a Trump supporter, how bad does that look? So go sign that petition, tytnetwork.com/stop. Stop putting donors in your cabinet. If you're a progressive, send that message so that it circulates in the press, because this is, Jimmy's right that all the Democrats and Republicans in the past have done it, and we've pointed it out on this show, and that's why we drive the establishment crazy. And no, just support the Democrats. That's the best strategy. Yeah, how's that strategy working out? So we never had any interest in that strategy. At the same time, this is as brazen as I have ever seen from any president. So Hillary Clinton, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. She would have been more subtle about it. She wouldn't have stacked the entire cabinet with Goldman Sachs after Goldman Sachs and Soros Wealth Management Fund and the Rothschild Fund and all the things that Alex Jones rails against, he put into his cabinet. She would have been more subtle, right? And maybe that's more nefarious, I don't know. But if you hated the systemic corruption of Hillary Clinton, wait till you get a load of Trump. There's so much more Young Turks content if you're a member of TYT. Old School, Aggressive Progressives, those are all new shows. You get Postgame where we talk about our personal lives a little bit more. And then you've got live interviews. It's all ad-free. Plus you get the whole 2-hour show. I know what you're thinking.
This is huge.
And it kind of is. TYTnetwork.com/join to become a member today.